Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weird, wonderful world. And as you may or may not know, I am a channel member of the Canadian Stud Muffin, also known as Larry Graves. I am a channel member to both his channels, and I'm also a Patreon. But what this is referring to is that he posted a video today for members only, so you're going to see it publicly in probably a day or so. But in that video, he was talking about because he does tier lists for certain years and albums and that, and he was talking about how in the 70s he would listen to more. He had more knowledge of albums in that from the 70s than he does in the 80s. He's trying to do 1982, and he has so much fewer albums to choose from for his tier list than he did in his 70s. He just seemed to listen to more music in the 70s. And so I had left a comment on his on that video he did. I wish I would share it with you, but like I said, he hasn't posted it public yet, so I won't be able to put it up here or anywhere. Hopefully you'll check him out and check out that video and everything, and think about becoming a channel member to the Canadian Stud Muffin because he's my favorite channel out there right now. But he got me thinking about my eclectic taste in music, why I like the music I liked growing up. So I wanted to give you basically a history of the music I would listen to growing up and such. Now, what you saw in the thumbnail, the five albums that I held up, pretty much represents. And now some of these bands may have been out before or not, but it represents certain bands that I discovered within certain decades. Of course, with the Kiss being from the 70s, this being from the 80s, this being from the 90s, this being in the 2000s, and this being in the 2010s. And what you didn't see is, and these are both contenders for this new decade that we just started because we're 2024 right now. I would I would have to throw in. Oh, that's upside down. There we go. So I would have to throw in these two for being contenders of the biggest bands that I have just been introduced to in this new decade. So starting from the 70s, I'm going to go decade by decade and try to give you a brief history of why I was into those music. Remember, I was born in early of 71. So my adolescence growing up was basically whatever was in the household, whatever we had growing, that my parents either had listened to. And so, of course, even when you're a kid, you want to distinguish your own music above and beyond what your parents was listening to. But my uncle Frankie, you know, had great taste in music that I loved, gravitated to. And of course, when he first brought in Kiss Kiss into the household, I was immediately captivated. I mean, before that, I was listening to stupid things like the Chickmunks and how much is that doggy in the window and stupid stuff like that. It's not until about 74 when my uncle brought this in, and then of course we had Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman, which I really loved. I played that a lot of that. A lot of that. We had Alice Cooper Killer, and then subsequently, Billion Dollar Baby, Schools Out, and such. So basically, what I liked in the 70s was stuff that my uncle was bringing into the household, and that was my only introduction to music. I wasn't I wasn't seeing it on the TV. I mean, there was stuff on the radio here and there, but I didn't have my own money to go out and buy my own music at the time. I wasn't. I'm an adolescent. I'm in like way preteen. This is from the ages of 3 years old to about maybe 11 years old, where whatever was in the household was that. But then, coming into the to the 80s, we moved because we were living in Kokang, which is the east, east of the it's the east coast of New Brunswick, right by the shore, a little quite a bit north, about a 25-minute drive from Moncton, New Brunswick, where I was born and raised. And subsequently, I think it was about maybe 83. I mean, we had the local channels that we were able to get, and there was a couple of video shows that was on the weekends. There was C100, I think it was called C100, and then there was Friday night. Yeah, so there was very limited access to music. But somewhere in the mid '80s, we had access to much music. But of course, it was my one of my good friends who at in '85 introduced me to Metallica. I mean, where I was listening to stuff like AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, and stuff like that already. But when he introduced me to Metallica, thrash metal, especially like bands like Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and Testament, and all these other thrash bands and that we were like, bands like DRI, which stands for Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, and such and so on. And of course, what I was being influenced by Much Music, because Much Music became a big source of my music collecting. What I'm getting at, basically, by the end of this episode, is you see why I have such a wide variety of music. Because when you're growing up, you like the stuff that interested you, that was in your peripheral, that was right there. And then as you get older and older, that peripheral widens out into your being more open minded and accepting of more and more different types of music. But then, of course, you get in the '90s, right? Once I started being a little disillusioned by 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 Metallica, and I had long past, since when they took off their makeup, I was past that. Of course, I gravitated to Tool, and these basically represent my first discovery of these bands, and these became my three favorite bands ever. They and now this is still over 30 years later, still my current favorite band. And it doesn't seem to be diminishing really much at all. No matter how much I may not like the newer albums as much as the first couple of albums, as you've seen in my tier list I did a few days ago. But yeah, so in the early 2001, I moved to Montreal, and I wasn't really, watching much music as much back then, because I was mostly outside exploring the city, doing my own thing, working, and I didn't listen to as much music much music in the 2000s, because I was too busy having an adventure in Montreal. But the music that I was starting to get here and there, especially, and how I came to how I came to discover Bell and Sebastian, and particularly this album, was I had an acquaintance. Okay, I don't really consider him a friend. He was just somebody who was around at the time. He was a car thief. A car thief. He would break into cars, and one day he brought over this empty, well, he not empty. It was just a case full of just CDs, and I didn't even have the cover of this. All I had seen was just that, exactly that. And it kind of was curiosity, like Bell and Sebastian. It was a name that it sounded, didn't sound it that interesting. And the title, The Boy with the Arrow Strap. But I was bored one day, and I said, "Oh, might as well put that on and see what it sounds like." And then I was the first time around listening to it, I didn't know how to feel about it. It had about three good songs on it that I really liked, and the rest were like, meh, not as interesting. But then I kept on going back and playing it again and again and again and again, and then realized, hey, I actually like the whole thing. These songs really grew on me fast, and now I'm a big Bell and Sebastian fan. Have all their albums and everything. So and then, but then coming back, but I'm listening to. I mean, there's the normal stuff that everybody was exposed to, like the Nirvanas and the I mean, I was always aware of Beatles, but never really gotten into it. I mean, I always liked the Doors, but didn't get wasn't able to get it until later. I mean, of course, I had mentioned Alice Cooper. I listened to a lot of the AC/DCs. I was a big fan of AC/DCs. I wasn't a fan of Rush. I knew of Rush, but I wasn't a fan of Rush until like the late 2000s when a roommate introduced me to it, and he was a huge Rush fan, and I had no choice but to start liking Rush because he kept on playing it every single day, at least 2 to 3 albums every single day for months. So I got very familiar and started loving Rush because of that. And so on and so forth, and then there was the stuff like KMFDM that I just kind of fell into. Even in the early '90s, getting into bands like Ministry and and was it Rob Zombie. Well, it was White Zombie at the time, but yeah. Now, where I'm going with this is only in the 2015s. No, in the 2010s, when I came back from Montreal and started, I needed a job, and then when I got my job at the movie theater, I was now open to getting what I could, and my brothers brought me to Frank's Music, and then from there, I didn't have much CDs at all when I came back from Montreal because I wasn't collecting CDs much in Montreal. I did, but that was neither here nor there. I wasn't able to really bring those CDs back with me at the time, and it was kind of disappointing. So I had to restart my collection from scratch. I only started restarting my music collection, my CDs in a mid in yeah, I would say mid 2012. And so from there on, I started trying to get all the stuff that I wanted to get. I started getting the Cat Stevens. I still need to get more Cat Stevens and the Alice Coopers and the Kiss stuff, and there's so much music that I want to get still that I don't have. Yeah, there's just way too much music I need to get into, and I keep rediscovering music. And of course, thanks to people like Larry Graves. Well, he didn't introduce me to these. These were, YouTube introduced me to this one here. A trailer for a documentary introduced me to this one here. And but from Larry Graves, he introduced me to Ween. Well, I was aware of Ween, but didn't consider Ween until Larry Graves started talking about them. Can and even the Moody Blues. I heard one album up in Montreal, but I didn't really give them any serious consideration until Larry Graves started talking about them. So when it comes to my eclectic taste in music. I mean, I've been liking singer songwriters like Matthew Sweet and Bob Mould. I became a big Sugar fan in the '90s, and only was able to get their stuff again when I came back from Montreal in the 2010s. So yeah, so I can't really put together tier lists the same way that Larry does because he knows his collections. He knows what he had and listened to during where he dropped off, where he tune back in and that, like what he was saying about his love and hate relationship with you too. I don't mind you too. I still need to listen to those albums that I got from Larry Graves in the gift package that he sent me about a year ago. And yeah, when it comes to my eclectic collection, it's whatever I can get my hands on, and it's all over the place. I I would love to be able to one day go through an extensive look at all what I have, and I tried. I did my my most CD culture show and tell, which I haven't done in a while. I just basically now whatever comes up, and I talk about. But I those series that I tried to start, I since abandoned all of them, and just trying to go day by day, video by video. I think, and for me, it works a little bit better. It's a little easier for me. So, yeah. I hope that kind of sheds a little bit of light on how my music interest came about. Yeah, like my main source in like I said, my main source of music, learning about music in the 80s and early 90s was Much Music. Much Music is where I discovered so many of the bands that I love today. Like bands like of course there was also my in the yeah, also in the 90s it was my friends my best friend's skateboard videos that actually kind of introduced me to Tool in many ways. So he was another major source of discovering new music, as whatever he was into, and yeah, I would learn about it from him, either from a skateboard video or however he discovered a certain new band. But our taste in music is pretty different. We do have similar likes that we do both like, but to the most part, he's into hardcore punk music, and I'm more into whatever has a melody, whatever has uniqueness, whatever is I feel is artistic and has integrity and all that stuff. Okay, I'm starting to babble now, so I'm not going to continue much longer. I just kind of thought this was an interesting little video to make for you guys. And also, I'm appreciating all the let's change subjects here a little bit. I'm appreciating all the comments I've been getting, and I'm trying to answer as many as I can. I mean, look, I'm five away from 400 subscribers. I am not going to be doing another contest, not at least until I get to 500 subscribers, because we all know how well my last contest went. Just saying. and someone, one of my awesome new subscribers has pointed out that in these times and days where the world does seem bleak and going down the tubes, that some of us like Larry Graves and even and others like even like Glenn Calloway from the Basement, Scott with the Prague Corner, and so on and so forth, and also especially the trash talkers with Larry Cowan and Berenger Bynes. They're a bright sunny spot in this world that brings positivity and brings joy to people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I'm trying, and I love trying to spread joy and positivity, and I think good things are to come somehow, some way. We're going to get through these hard times that we seem to be going through with inflation and all that negative stuff, and persevere. As long as we can stay positive, project this positivity. And still, one of my most profound things I ever heard is when I went to see Tool twice in Montreal. Those were the most amazing concerts and some of the best times of my life. But to paraphrase what Maynard James Keenan had said at the very end of the first concert I seen for the Lateralis tour, he comes to the audience and says, I want you all tonight to take the positive energy that you've gathered here, go out into your global community and make a positive difference. And like it was so inspiring and like what a way to cap off my first concert with Tool, you know? Well said. Took in all the emotion that I had in my heart and in my head after seeing such a wonderful concert and just nailing it with such a poignant and force and that I will never forget that to the day I remind myself of that every day. And that's why I attempt to do the best I can to bring you that every day and whenever possible. Look at my community page. I left a note there of to all my subscribers of I when I do work and when I'm able to comment back, because there are times where if I'm at work and it's 5 days a week, there's only certain days off. I left all that information in my on my community page. So if you want to know when the best times to for me to respond to your comments and that, you can find it there. All right, I've babbled on long enough. I just needed to get some of that stuff out of there. I just thought it was a good idea to try to tell you a little bit about my eclectic taste and where it all came from. And yeah, so I'm done here. I just want to, if you are watching it for the first time, please consider subscribing because I will greatly appreciate it and love you forever. And of course, comment because I do love to respond to comments as much as humanly possible. I can't always do it at the time, but when I know you've commented and within a certain time, I will respond back. And hit the like button. Don't be afraid of the like button. So, okay, everybody, I just want you to please be safe. Take care. I will see you on the flip side. And please, everybody, just have a great day, evening, morning, night, or afternoon, wherever you may be. Peace.